guys, today I'm going to be doing an update for my Pan Those eyeshadows. I was going to do my intro and just backtrack the couple of days usage that I had from the first couple of days this year, and then I accidentally hit pan. So I'm going to do kind of an intro slash first update. I'm going to tell you guys the rules that I've set for myself, and I'm going to roll a palette out and roll a new palette in and just kind of do the two combined. So last year, I believe I hit pan on like 13 eyeshadows in this project and a couple more not in this project. This year, I want to be even more successful, so there's a couple of changes I'm going to be doing to give myself a little bit more freedom in the looks I do. I rolled a lot of colors out last year because I just didn't like that specific shadow in the palette. Not that I didn't like the palette in itself, but just that specific shade wasn't something that I could even get a couple of uses out of. So what I did for the first three shades in this project was I went to pretty random and I randomly generated 1 through 814, which is how many shades I have in my collection. What I decided to do this year was include my singles, my duos, so every pan of eyeshadow that I have in my collection is listed in here. I could pull a single, I could pull a shade from my Morphe 39 pan. It's just, that's completely random. And then, so I randomly generate 3 shades, and then so every month I will roll however many shadows I hit pan on, I will roll that many shadows back in. If they are a randomly generated number for that shadow, then I will randomly generate again. If it's a shadow that I personally chose, I will again get to choose another shadow, so that there are always 3 that I chose and 3 that were randomly selected. That way I can continue to build a cohesive 6 color palette for this project. First 3 that I randomly generated were not ones that the one that I hit pan on, so I'm going to show you. The first shadow that I randomly generated was from the Lorac Pro Matte palette, and I actually drew 2 shades out of this palette last year, and I hit pan in Bear and I hit pan in Pink Mauve, and then the shadow that I randomly drew was Latte, which is, it's just a nice matte mid-tone brown. It runs a little cooler, so I have to keep that in mind when I'm using it, but it's just, it's a matte mid-tone brown. So, and so far I've only used it once, but because it does run a little bit cooler, I have to be careful what I pair it with, and these shadows are very pigmented, so you've got to watch out for that. The next shade that I randomly generated was a palette that I got pretty recently. It's from the Voss Essentials palette, and I randomly drew the shade Cream. It is a beautiful inner corner highlight. It's what I'm wearing today. It's super pretty. It's super reflective. You can see it there. It's gorgeous. I'm looking at my spreadsheet. I'm looking at my spreadsheet down here, and so far I've used this 5 times. It's beautiful, and I really do enjoy this. I think this palette is a great quality palette, and I wouldn't have picked this up on my own, but I got it in a BoxyCharm, and it's great. I love it. The last shadow that I randomly generated is from the Nubian mini palette by Juvias Place. It's the only Juvias Place palette I own, and I randomly generated this first shade. This one right here, this first one. And it's a pretty warm brown, like it almost leans a little orange. What's strange for me though is it's got some glitter in it. And like, you would think, I'm like looking at it, you would think that maybe it's fallout from the other shades, but I just swatched the entire thing and there's still shimmer in it. So you can see it's a very orange leaning brown compared to Latte from Lorac, but it's very warm and orange leaning brown. So far I've used it once. Again, I have to be kind of careful because this color definitely dominates a look, but the one time I used this was the first time I had used this palette, and I think I got it back in like May or June. I'm glad that I'm finally challenging myself to get some use out of this palette. The next 3 shades are all ones that I personally chose myself to be complementing shades, starting with the Super Dirty Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette. I chose the shade Rich Girl, which is right here. It is a gorgeous metallic taupe, I guess you could call it. It's gorgeous. You can see that it leans a little bit more brown, but then it shifts in the light. It's beautiful. I'm wearing it on the first part of my lid today. I love wearing this shade. It is absolutely the shade that I'm the most drawn to in this palette. So I wanted to give this palette some love, especially because even though I got it on sale, I don't reach for it very often. So I wanted to get some use out of this palette. So far, including today, I've used it 4 times, and this is not a shade that I think is going to be difficult for me to hit pan on at all. I'm very excited to keep using it. The next shade that I chose to rotate in is from this Rainforest of the Sea Volume 3 palette from Tarte. I chose to add in this shade here called Heat Wave. It's more of a pink toned metallic. It's pretty similar to Rich Girl, except it's definitely leans more pink. So whereas Rich Girl pairs better with like a cooler toned, Heat Wave pairs better with a warm tone look in my experience. And I've only used it once, but this isn't a palette that I reach for very often, so I have to remind myself that it's in this project and that I need to keep working on it. But I don't think it's gonna be, except for the fact that these shadows work best with your finger, and so it's just gonna make it harder to hit pan on. So the last palette that I chose for myself is a roll-in from last year. I already had, I think, 6 or 7 uses in it from last year. It was one of the last palettes that I rolled in. It was the Ace Beaute Grandiose palette, and I rotated in the shade Clove, which is right here. It is a gorgeous kind of melony pinky orange. That's the color right there. It's gorgeous. I love it. It makes a gorgeous crease and like bottom lash line color. When I use this, I use a lot of this color. So I actually hit pan on this after only 11 uses, which may seem crazy to people, but because I use a fluffy crease brush and then a more densely packed, narrower bottom lash brush, I do use a lot more product in a single eye look than a lot of people might. I don't know, that's how I do my crease. And whatever I'm using in my crease, I usually go through pretty fast. So I loved this shade, this palette. We got it in a BoxyCharm in like November of 2018, I believe. And it's gorgeous. Like, this jasmine color is a beautiful inner corner highlight. Patchouli is actually a pretty good all over setting shade for me. It's a little bit darker, so I usually only use it to set my crease and my lid, and then I use something else to set my brow bone. And Poppy is a gorgeous, like, kind of outer V deepening color. I really like Poppy on the lower lash line as well. So if you have this palette and you haven't pulled it out to use it, I super suggest it because the quality is actually really good. So when I hit pan on that shade, since it was a pan that I had specifically chosen myself, I knew that I was going to get to specifically choose its replacement shade. And I wasn't 100% sure what palette I wanted to pull out, but then I decided I was going to pull out the Athena palette from Bad Habit. It is a dupe palette for something. I'll list it in the description box because I know that I did my research on all of them, but I absolutely, for the life of me, cannot remember what it's a dupe for. So this is what the palette looks like. I'll flip it up like this so that I can block the... It's beautiful. I'm pretty sure it's a dupe for one of the Huda palettes, but I couldn't decide between Valour, which is this beautiful kind of peachy pink. Actually, it's pretty similar to the one I already had, or Lorac, which is more of like an orangey, like transition color. I'm actually wearing both of them today. I'm wearing Valour in my crease and I'm wearing Lorac on my bottom lash line. I think they're both beautiful. No matter which one of these I chose, I was going to end up using both of them because I really enjoyed them. So decided what I was gonna do was, I posted about this on Instagram last night. I was going to use both of them in my makeup look today. And then based on how my makeup turned out, decide which one I wanted to pan. I think that I'm gonna pan Valour, which is this peachy one. More so because it's just a lighter toned color that I'm very much drawn to. But like I said, I'm gonna end up using both of them. So it's not really that big of a deal. So this is what my palette looks like. I've got the color from Lorac, the color from Violet Voss, Juvias Place, Too Faced, Tarte, and now Bad Habit. I'm super excited to get working on these shades. I've got, the colors that I have right now are about 2 pretty cohesive looks. Once I add in my, because I've been using my panning solitaire shades as well, I matched the ones that I was using for that project into what's missing here. So the 2 of those together, I think I should be able to rock this project this year. I've already got one pan and today's the 4th. So I'm feeling really, really positive and good about it. And I'm just hoping that I can keep up the momentum, wearing makeup often and really working on these eyeshadows. I brought in more eyeshadow palettes than I'm willing to admit right now last year. So I'm really trying to make sure that the ones that have been sitting and haven't been getting used, those are probably going to be the ones that I specifically choose to work out of. So if any of you guys are doing this project, please feel free to leave your information down below, whether you're doing it on Instagram or YouTube. Let me know. I'd love to be able to follow you. I love these kind of project pans. I love watching people hit pan on eyeshadows. I loved watching everybody's videos last year. I loved watching everybody's progress. I'm super excited that so many of us are deciding to do it again this year, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.